Hello, everyone. I'm Carol Richards, and welcome to Teacher Talk, episode 16 From Simple to Complex. This is an inclusive musical process for learning new repertoire. This is a process that many ORF teachers use, and it involves breaking down a difficult or challenging piece into simple chunks so that children can immediately engage without fear of failure. Now, the process, first step, is the teacher has to examine the repertoire and determine how can I make this accessible to all the children. So I have a little video clip of a dance, Calamantianos, that the children taught me a long time ago. And I'm going to show you how I broke it down and tell you what I did to get children to actually dance this Calamantianos. Is a Greek dance taught to me by my Greek girls at Richmond Girls High School in Melbourne in 1974. I loved the dance and I tried to teach it to other students, but I found if they were not Greek and hadn't grown up with 7/4 and a foot pattern like this dance has, they had trouble. So what I did was I simplified it, and then I simplified it more and more and more, and ended up with a 5-step process to teach them the dance from very simple to more complex. So I want to show you. So step 1, play the music and just clap on the strong beats. Okay, nice. Once you can see the children are doing that and they're comfortable with it, then clap and step at the same time on the strong beats. Here we go. And they might walk around the room doing this. All right, once they have it clapping and moving to the strong beat, then we get into a line like this. Pretend there's lots of children here hanging on to me. And we all move in a line, just moving feet from the same way. Okay, here we go. Changed is the direction. We're not staying the same. We're not moving forward. We're moving sideways, but it's still step, 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 step. Excellent. Once they're happy with that, then we try without the music because this is tricky. The next step is to teacher still singing, and we do the crossover step. So I have to turn around and you watch my feet. Da 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 da. So you keep changing the weight of your feet. Da 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 da. So long, short, short, long, short, short. Takes a little practice, but it's much easier for the kids to go from simple to complicated. Now, the process can be used for any musical learning. I'm going to ask my friend Paul Myatt to come in. Hi, Paul.
Hi.
Welcome to Teacher Talk.
Thanks, Carol.
It's good to see you again. Paul is from Forte Music. He's a very experienced piano teacher, and he teaches groups, get that, groups of children piano. Now, Paul, I have to tell you, when I was young and I learned piano, I would walk into my lesson and the teacher would plonk a new piece in front of me with lots and lots of black dots. And I would struggle my way through it bar by bar, trying to figure out the fingering and the notes and the pitch and the rhythm. It was excruciating. And I always came out thinking, I hate this piece. I never want to play it again. So, my question for you is, as a piano teacher, do you have any simple to complex process to avoid this learning tragedy with your students?
I do. Surprise, surprise.
I thought you might.
I teach a lot of kids for piano exams. In fact, this year I'm teaching every grade from grade 1 to grade 8. And a lot of children find as they get past the beginner stage, it starts to get difficult. And sometimes there is a complete sea of black on the page. And so we've just developed a process called the skeleton fast track. And the skeleton fast track is like starting with just the skeleton of the piece. And you just keep building it up and building it up.
Sounds really good, but as a visual learner, have you got anything you can actually show us what you mean?
I can. So let me show you with this Mozart, which is a very simple little Mozart piece, which is often around about grade 1 standard. And it's actually quite difficult for the students to play this. So I'm just going to play the first part so you know what it sounds like. And I'm sure many people have heard that piece before. So before we start, Carol, we always do movement and singing. So we've done a lot of movement and singing
Good.
to a backing track.
Oh.
So in the style of Mozart. So when I play it for you in a moment, you'll hopefully notice and maybe even feel some of Mozart's. He wrote this piece when he was about 8 years old. So he was, a precocious child, and I think the backing track really captures that precocious 8-year-old writing a piece of music for his dad.
Oh, dear.
So we start with the single right hand, and you can see the difference between that right hand and this right hand.
It's easier.
It is easier.
Yay.
It is easier. And once you can play it, you get to play it with the backing track like this. Once our student can play level 1A, they would then learn level 1B. And you can see there, the left hand has a tap. So they play tap, 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 tap. So they're tapping with their left hand. And that's really important because it starts to develop their coordination skills.
So it's an outline, really, of the piece.
Yeah.
And the left hand tap tap is because the left hand goes 1, da, da. Yeah. So they're getting their body ready to do that without having to worry about the pitch and the fingering and so on.
Exactly.
Oh, nice.
So the next level on, they would be doing level 1B, and they would then receive the music for level 2. And they would identify what is the same and what is different. And they'll be able to identify, oh, there's notes in the left hand, but is the right hand the same? And yes, it is. So there's only one small thing that is new, which is the left hand. And they've already got that left hand rhythm. Yes. And then they move on from level 2 to level 3. And again, you can see we had, and now in level 3, they're going. And then we go from level 3 to level 4, which is basically the whole piece, almost the same as the original piece.
So what I'm thinking is lucky students, they've got backing tracks, which I assume they can take home, and they can play level 1 as often as they like until they feel really happy with themselves with the backing track. It sounds beautiful. And then level 2, they can practice. And again, it's not a matter of changing what they already know, but adding to it. So that's so simple and logical and intelligent and musical. Oh, I wish you'd been my music teacher. And we actually do that, not just with piano, but if you're teaching recorder or anything else in your classroom that requires looking at notation, this process can work for all of that, can't it?
Absolutely. It would work perfectly with any instrument. And I can highly recommend. It does take a bit of work from the teacher. And so the teacher has to be prepared to put the work in. But the results I found to be quite amazing.
But Paul, because they're playing like 4 or 5 different versions, doesn't that take a lot longer for them to learn a piece?
One would think so. And I used to think so as well until I actually did this with a grade 5 class that I was teaching. And the time it took them to actually achieve the piece the next year after I did this, and we had 9 levels. They could play it in time. It took half the time. I couldn't believe it. But not only that, they were reading the music because they had to identify what was different, what was the same. So each time they could work out, oh, I know that note because I've already played that note. And then they're just adding another note. So it was a lot easier for them to learn how to do it.
And of course, there's a lot more learning than just playing the piano. They're learning, as far as I can see, are there any things that are repeated? Are things different? Is there a sequence? What's happening in the right hand? So they're learning the language of talking about music, which is really important for conceptual learning.
They're definitely learning about form, especially, but also seeing the patterns because music is full of patterns, and good sight reading skills is about identifying patterns.
Oh, how fabulous. Well, Paul, thank you for your skeletal things. What is it?
Skeleton fast track.
Skeleton fast track, because it does fast track the learning, because I can see that children would actually go home and practice. As long as they're achieving success and feeling like they're playing with an orchestra, because the backing tracks are so wonderful, they're going to continue and practice, which is, every music teacher's dream, isn't it?
It is.
Well, everyone, I'd like to thank you for joining Paul Myatt and myself in this week's Teacher Talk. And Paul, where can people find you if they want to know more about this?
Well, we have a TV show for piano teachers called Piano Teaching Success Q&A TV, which is found at pianoteachingsuccess.com. And if you'd like to know about Forte School of Music, it's fortemusic.com. So there we go.
And you'll be running workshops this year for people who are interested, who are teaching piano as well. So keep your eye out on Facebook for those. And thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
And everyone, thank you for joining us this week in Teacher Talk.